I was sitting in my car outside a roadside inn somewhere off Route 9, staring at a wooden box sitting on the passenger seat. Inside it were two antique brass candle holders that had belonged to my grandmother. I'd wrapped them in linen. I'd driven 11 hours to give them to my brother. He hadn't come outside. He hadn't called. He hadn't even texted. I could still hear it, the muffled sound of glasses clinking through that front door before it closed in my face. Laughter I wasn't allowed to be part of. And the worst part? I wasn't even surprised. Not really. I just sat there in the parking lot of that inn, with the heating running and an old playlist looping songs I've heard 100 times. And I thought, how long have I been standing outside doors that were always going to close on me? That night, I finally stopped asking that question, and I started doing something about it. If you've ever given someone everything, your time, your money, your patience, and still somehow ended up on the outside looking in, this one is for you. Hit the like button before we go any further, because by the end of this, you're going to feel something shift. And if you're new here, subscribe. These are the stories nobody tells out loud, but everybody needs to hear. My name is Nora. I'm 34. I run a small candle business out of my apartment, which sounds charming until you realize it means I'm constantly juggling wholesale orders on a folding table next to my couch. I don't say that for sympathy. I say it because it matters later. My brother Tyler is 29. He's the kind of person who walks into a room and immediately becomes the most comfortable person in it. Easy smile, good handshake. He makes friends without trying. Growing up, I used to think that was a gift. I've since reconsidered. 3 years ago, Tyler met Jess at a farmer's market. She's polished, curated, is maybe the better word, the kind of person whose Instagram grid looks like a mood board, and whose real life seems to be arranged around how it photographs. I didn't dislike her immediately. That took time. What I knew from early on was that when Jess entered Tyler's life, I slowly started exiting it. Not all at once. Just gradually, the calls got shorter, the visits got rescheduled, the inside jokes we used to trade started feeling like references to a show he no longer watched. I told myself it was normal. People get into relationships. People change. I kept telling myself that all the way through 11 hours of mountain roads, singing along to songs I've had memorized for 8 years, with a carved wooden box on my passenger seat and a stupid, stubborn hope that this dinner, his engagement dinner, would fix something. Here's what nobody at that engagement dinner knew. Tyler's food truck, the one he'd been talking about since he was 26, the one Jess posted about like it was a lifestyle brand. I funded the start of it. $14,000, not a gift. A loan with a handshake agreement and a text thread where he said, I'll pay you back by March. I swear. March came and went. Twice. When he fell behind on rent 18 months ago, I covered 2 months. $1,500 each. $3,000 I transferred on the Tuesday night without him even having to finish the sentence. And then there was the credit card. He needed it for emergencies, his word. A card in my name with a $5,000 limit that he would use carefully and temporarily. Over 14 months, he put $9,200 on it. I know the exact number because I finally pulled every statement the night after the door closed. I laid them out on my kitchen table like evidence. Medical co-pays, yes, but also restaurant tabs. A weekend trip. Subscription services I'd never heard of. I had been quietly absorbing the cost of his life while building my own from scratch, and I had never once said the word enough. The first time I noticed something was wrong, really wrong, was 8 months ago. Tyler was supposed to come visit for my birthday. He texted 40 minutes before he was supposed to leave. Jess has a thing, can we reschedule? No call, no apology, just that. I said okay and spent the evening alone repackaging candle orders. The second time was at Christmas. I'd driven 4 hours to their place. Tyler's and Jess's new apartment, the one they decorated with plants and vintage posters, and the kind of furniture that signals a certain kind of ambition. Jess spent most of the night talking about renovations they were planning. Tyler kept looking at her when she spoke, like he was taking notes on how to be the person she wanted him to be. At one point, I mentioned the loan, quietly. Just a reference, not a demand. Tyler's jaw tightened. Jess didn't look up from her phone. We've got a lot going on right now, he said. That was it. Subject closed. The third time was the door. I knocked. Jess answered. She was wearing a wrap dress and holding a glass of wine, and there was a half second, just half a second, where something crossed her face. Discomfort, maybe guilt. Then it was gone. The dinner was yesterday, she said. It was just immediate family. Behind her, I heard Tyler laugh at something. A full, easy laugh. The laugh of someone having a good time. Oh, I said, okay. The door closed. I sat in my car for 22 minutes. I kept my phone face up on my thigh, volume on, waiting for it to light up. It didn't. 22 minutes of nothing. And somewhere in that silence, something that had been very slowly bending finally broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. It just stopped holding. I started the car. I found the inn. I carried the wooden box inside and set it on the nightstand and looked at it for a long time. Then I opened my laptop. I pulled 14 months of credit card statements. I cross-referenced them with my own bank records. I built a document, not because I was going to show anyone, but because I needed to see it. All of it, in one place. The total across the loan and the rent and the credit card was just over $26,000. I said that number out loud in the empty hotel room, $26,000. I didn't feel rage. Not exactly. It was more like the feeling you get when you've been holding your breath without realizing it and you finally exhale. A cold, clarifying release. I thought about calling Tyler that night. I had the phone in my hand. I even typed out the first line of a message twice and deleted it both times. Instead, I called the credit card company. And I canceled the card. I didn't tell him I went home the next morning. I drove the 11 hours back in silence. No playlist this time. I needed to think in quiet for once. Back in my apartment, I moved the wooden box to the top shelf of my closet. I sat down at my folding table and started making a list. Not of grievances, but of my actual finances. What I owed. What I'd deferred. What I'd been quietly sacrificing to keep a floor under someone who never once looked down to notice. I started paying down my own debt. I signed up for a pottery class I'd been too busy for. I fulfilled 3 wholesale candle orders. I did not call Tyler. He called me on day 5. He didn't say hello. My card got declined, he said. I let a breath out. I know. What do you mean you know? I canceled it, Tyler. There was a pause. Why would you do that right now? I said, I can't keep doing this. He said, so you're just done? Like that? Silence. I ended the call. Over the next week, the calls kept coming. Then there was something quieter. I don't know what you want from me, Nora. Meanwhile, Jess posted their engagement photos. I looked at them for about 30 seconds. Then I went back to my candle inventory. What was strange was how calm I felt. I started sleeping better. I wasn't braced anymore. I've thought a lot about what I was actually doing for those 3 years. I told myself I was helping. But sometimes helping is just a way of staying necessary to someone who stopped choosing you. The moment you realize that, you're already standing outside a closed door. Have you ever kept giving to someone because stopping felt like proof that you didn't love them enough? If this story hit you, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.